but you overwrote it to death, and I simply can't. I don't want to say I didn't think it was very good. It just was so, like, aggressively there. That's the nicest way I could say it. I feel so mean. Oh my God. Well, hello. Welcome back to my channel. Just Shauna here to talk about some friggin' books that I didn't really like and that were disappointing. First, the lowest rated of the year. I had only some 2.5 and 2.75 were the lowest. And there are 7 of those. So this is just going to be a bottom 7 rather than like a bottom 10. Because after these, then there's like a chunk of 3 stars and a few 3.25. I didn't have anything lower than a 2.5. Though looking at this, could some of them be? Hold on. Because now that I'm looking at it, yeah, man, one of them is actually going to change. Okay, so yeah. Anyways, now I have 1, 2, going up to 2.75. These are the bottom 7. So I'll start at the top of the bottom. And we have there at number 7, City of Stardust by Georgia Summers. This is a NetGalley e-arc for a book that's coming out sometime this year. I think January. I think that's why I picked it up before the others, is because it's coming out in January. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, I don't know. I gave it 2.75, which is like fine, but on the lower end of fine. That's in my like 3 range of 2.75, 3, and 3.25. So it was just very meh. It had so much potential. The cover, for one thing, is beautiful. That's what drew me to it on NetGalley. And then I read the synopsis and I was like, this sounds intriguing. We have like magical, like a portal fantasy kind of, where we can like go between worlds, and family drama, generational trauma, stars that are gods and maybe walk as humans among us. I don't know. It just sounded very whimsical and magical and fun. And it just kind of wasn't all that much for me. The world was cool, but the characters, I felt like I barely knew them. Even though, like, the main character, I followed her from the friggin' beginning, and I was with her all the time. And I just was like, who is she? What is she like? What's she about? What's her freaking personality? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Yeah, a very cool concept that just didn't really pan out for me personally. I could see a lot of people really enjoying it, like, for the vibes, but I just didn't think it was all that fun. And then another 2.75, coming in at number 6, Dance of Dragons by George R. R. Martin. I know, it's sacrilege. I love Game of Thrones, the show, like, obsessed, and I love fantasy, and I think George R. R. Martin wrote of such a cool fucking world. I love all the lore. I love the World of Ice and Fire book. I love Fire and Blood. But my God, the fiction, the novels. Sir, I don't need to know about every excruciating detail of the world. I simply don't. I don't need it. You can tell me, there are places where it's important and it adds to the story. There is a reason for it that I can clearly see, and I'm like, that was required information to help me get full context here. But he does it all the time in cases where, like, this was not necessary context. I did not need to know this. This did not help me understand anything. You could have given me the same understanding in a much smaller space. Instead of 3 pages, this could have been a paragraph, sir, and I would have gotten the same context and information. But you overwrote it to death, and I simply can't. So, 2.75. And then the last of the 2.75, coming in at number 5, Restored by Christina C. Jones. I think this was the 3rd book in that. It's like a novella series, and just another one where there was potential. I had a fun enough time with the other books, but this one just, I don't know, I just didn't care that much. It was just kind of there. I liked the concept of the fantasy element, but I felt like it wasn't there enough. And I just didn't care that much about the romance in this one, so I can't even really remember anything else about it. So there's that. Now on to the 3 2.5s. Number 4, I think is it Hassad Air or Hassad Air? I kept saying Hassad Air, but I believe that is incorrect. By Sarah Hashem. It was a young adult, new release fantasy, and I didn't think it was very good. I don't want to say I didn't think it was very good. It just was so, like, aggressively there for me personally. The plot kind of felt not nonsensical, but there were several times where I was like, what are we doing? What are we doing right now? What and why? What and why are we doing? I don't understand. And the character development just wasn't really there for me. The romance, I didn't give a crap about. And it just felt a little meandering plot-wise. And yeah, it just, meh. And then, number 3, Arrows Fall by Mercedes Lackey. This series, I really liked the first book. I gave it 4.5 stars. And I was like, heck yeah. Some classic fantasy that is like hitting the mark and is doing something cool. And like, I was here for it. And yeah, by the end, I did not care. I lost any and all interest I had. I can't even remember what it freaking was about it that I just didn't care anymore. I don't know. Oh, I do remember. It was extreme, like, lack of communication between two of the characters. It was just rampant in this book. That's what it was. It was so frustrating. Like, I cannot stand it. And yeah, it just, like, something about Mercedes Lackey's writing style, I just, like, I lost any connection I had. Even in the first book that I did like a lot, I noted that, like, I wasn't super, like, I didn't feel super connected to the characters, you know, super invested in them. And it just waned as it went on. And then we get to this one where I was like, I'm annoyed and I don't really care. Like, I just don't care all the way around. Number 2, this one is a random one that I picked up from Barnes & Noble one time because the cover struck me because it's just so pretty, the colors. Oh my God. And I read the synopsis and was like, oh, okay, fantasy. Like, it's a kind of standard fantasy fare, it sounded like, but like a lost heir, I think, if I remember correctly. Well, maybe not lost heir, but like the queen is gone. And I like that kind of a trope, so picked it up and just so bland. It was just bland. There wasn't anything about this one that I can recall that really was like, oh my God, I'm so annoyed. This one element is just driving me crazy. It just was like so blah. I feel so mean. But like the world, the city we were in, it was just like as Mara would say, like, ye old fantasy town. Like, it was just ye old fantasy people and characters. There was like talk about George R. R. Martin over describing things. In this one, hardly any description of anyone or anything. Couldn't tell you what the city looked like even as I was reading the book. Couldn't tell you much about the characters. Also, I do recall there being like a weird insta-love that they were like, oh my God, I'm so passionate for you all of a sudden. I'm like, you literally met like 3 days ago and you're grown-ass adults also, like, nah. So the plot too, I remember there being like some big plan that it took them so long to like formulate this plan. And it was literally like, we're gonna walk in somewhere and fight people. And I was like, why the fuck did we need this much time to come up with this plan? Like, we didn't. It was just so very bland. That's the nicest way I can say it. I feel so mean. Oh my God. This one and the last one I initially gave 2.75, but had to take it down. You know, one of those things with time, I was feeling like, yeah, actually, nah. And with this final one, that's what also happened. I had this at 2.7 or 2.5, and literally as I started this video, you guys saw, I decided to change it to 2. The book I had the least fun time with, or that I thought wasn't, honestly, Dance of Dragons would probably be the one I had the least fun with because it's so fucking long and just, I was like in physical pain. But quality-wise, this one I think is kind of like the worst book. If I was going to rate solely on like, you know, my understanding of the actual like writing quality and like storytelling quality, like this one would be lowest. And that is Fury by Rachel Vincent, which was such a bummer because the first book I thought it was like kind of fucking ridiculous, like soap opera drama and like twisted, sometimes kind of like felt like a little bit of shock value drama. But I was just eating it up. You know, I was like, fuck yeah, entertaining, just like high drama, crazy shit. Oh my God, what? And I was having a great time. And the second book was kind of like a repeat of the first one as far as like the plot points, but with some different stuff and more just like fucked up shit. Again, kind of felt like sometimes just for shock value, but I was here for a good time. You know, I was here for an entertaining, oh my God, what the fuck time. And it served me that. And then this third book, just no. I don't even know. I was so disappointed because I was like, man, this series, if I really like the third book, because the second book was like, it was fine. It was cool. It was fine. If the third book would have been at least that, I would have bought copies, and this could be like such a good like palate cleanser series because I read through these things so fucking fast. I still might buy the first book and have it as that, but I don't know. Because yeah, they're just such an entertaining kind of like, you know, brain candy, like just you fly through it and you're not really worried about like, does all this make sense necessarily, or is this all like legit? You're just like, it's fun, it's drama, whatever. But yeah, the third book wasn't that fun. Most of the plot, our characters were just like in a cabin hiding out and like, what are we gonna do? And then like the pacing was so weird because towards the end, like the big thing, ooh, we carried out our plan, and it was kind of dumb. It was kind of dumb. And then just like rushed as well, and no like follow-up. We like this whole trilogy was leading up to this, and then we're just like, and that's that. And it just left me very wanting, hence 2 stars. And now my 4 most disappointing. Once again, I did 4 last year, so I'm doing 4 again this year, 4 surprising and disappointing. So these are the 4 that I would say were the most disappointing this year. Dragonfall by L.R. Lamb was, I think, definitely the most disappointing because it was one of the ones I was looking forward to the most. It was a new release, and just based on the description, the synopsis, I was like, oh my God, this could be it. The dragon shit I want. And I DNF'd it. At what, like, well, when did I DNF it? Let me check. Yeah, 58% is where I said, all right, I'm fucking over it. I just was not connecting with it at all. Characters or anything. It was like I was slogging through it. I was not having fun. And then Silver Under Nightfall by Rin Chupeco. This was another case of like, oh my God, vampires, romance, maybe polyamory, sexy times, cool fantasy world. Sign me the fuck up. I was so jazzed for this. And both of these books, there was another new release, and both of these books, Dragonfall and Silver Under Nightfall, were Goldsboro SFF membership editions that I got rid of because very sad times. And this one I didn't hate. I gave it 3.5 stars, but I was fully expecting to really love it. And honestly, this is another thing of like time passing, and I'm like, is it 3.5? I did really love the characters. That is the thing with this one. I gotta sneeze. Oh my God. I just aggressively sneezed, as I always do while I'm recording. And now I probably look like I was crying. Oh my God. I'm not though, I swear. Oh God, now my nose is gonna be runny. Kind of falling apart here. Anyway, yeah, I really liked the characters, like the banter and whatever, and I just was like, oh, they're so fun. But the plot was just very like nothing to me. And I'm a pretty dang plot-driven reader, as I learned last year, or like fully realized, confirmed, whatever. So I can love a plot and not really care about the characters and rate a book 5 stars. But if I love the characters or really like the characters and do not like the plot, that ain't getting probably more than 4 stars most of the time. So yeah, 3.5 simply for the characters, I think. But like overall, really probably more of like a 3. I was like, God, do I want to continue with the series? And I don't care. And then Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. This one was disappointing because I was waiting so many years to finally pick this up. Everyone always talks about it. It's so great. Oh my God. I've even had people tell me, like, I think you would like it, Shoshana. Sounds like it might be up your alley. And it was fine. It was there. I didn't hate it. I gave it 3 stars though. Just very like, okay, and did not care to continue the series. Not gonna continue the series. Wasn't for me. So that was kind of a bummer. And similar thing with The Bone Shard Daughter by Andrea Stewart. This one I enjoyed okay. The first like 30-40%, I was kind of like, okay, I don't, whatever. Like this is going on for a while. And then it kind of started picking up. There was one character and one like relationship that one character was in that I like really aggressively did not care for. But everything else was like, okay, cool. Mystery is, you know, picking up. I'm intrigued a little bit more. Plots picking up. All right. Picked up the next book and DNF'd it pretty dang quickly. And I gave this book 3.5 stars. And I just expected to like it way more once again, based on how people talk about the series and talk about this book in particular. What I like, it just sounded like something that I expected to enjoy a lot more than I did. So that's why I was disappointed. And I might, let me double check how long I've been talking. Yeah, I will really quickly do the same thing I did with my like top faves of the year, where I went through the list of like the 4.75 and 5 stars, and then I just kind of ran through real quick the 4.5. For this, I'll run through real quick the 3 and 3.25. There are 12 that I rated in those 2 ranges. These are not necessarily in order. I didn't really put them in order, so this is just, I'll start with the 3.25s. I had The Bitter Twins by Jen Williams. Didn't care all that much. It would probably be more like a 3, honestly. And then Rebel Queen by Michelle Moran, a historical fiction that just did not do anything for me. I Lost Summer Somewhere by Sarah Russell. This was poetry collection that was, honestly, again, probably 3, really. A Big Surprise for Valentine's Day by Jackie Lau. This one was just fine. It was a novella, a little romance, contemporary romance novella. It was fine. Coveted by Christina C. Jones. That was part of that same series that Restored was in. Once again, it was fine. The Bear and the Nightingale, moving on to the 3-star ones by Catherine Arden. Talked about that already. 9 of Swords by Brooklyn Quintana. That one was fine, just not exactly the like story for me, but it was fine. It was there. Room 10 Praise Times 3 by Cameron Clare. This was just some random Kindle, I think Kindle Unlimited, like basically erotica, like polyamorous thing. And yeah, it was fine. Feast for Crows by George R. R. Martin. Ugh. It was 3 stars. It wasn't like bad, but just very end. Carolina Built by Kiana Alexander. This one is historical fiction about a real woman that existed, and she was very interesting, but the story that was told wasn't like as interesting, I guess. I don't know. Nothing wrong with it, but just very middle of the road. And then Arrow's Flight by Mercedes Lackey. We were going down. You know, that was book 2, I do believe. And then Daughters of Izdihar by Hadir Elsbai. That's the last one that was 3 stars. That was a new release, young adult, that one I did have like some issues with. Honestly, that could probably be 2.75 as far as like my enjoyment. Because, yeah, there were just so many elements of that like were bugging me as I was reading it. And I was just like, ugh, no. I loved the like thematic elements, what we were talking about, the messaging, but the execution was not it for me. And there we go. All of the kind of lowest rated or books that I read this year. There were way more that I quite enjoyed, so love that for me. As far like under 3 stars, I didn't have that many. You know, I had a fair amount in like the 3.5 range, a fair amount in the 3.75, several 4, a few 4.25, and then we already talked about all the 4.5s, and then a handful or so of, 4.755. So it wasn't bad. I usually don't have that many in the like really low ratings just because I DNF so frequently. Let me know if you read any of these that I read, or if you have ever read any of these that I read. Did you have similar ratings and feelings to me, or like wildly different? Were any of these like your faves or top rated books or anything? And you know, what was your least favorite book that you read this year too? If you want to let me know that. Like and subscribe as well if you haven't already and if you feel so inclined. As always, thank you so much for your time, and I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.